everyone, welcome. Today is a special video tutorial. Have you ever wondered how much each of your ingredients weigh? This is especially important for costing your coffee and tea drinks. Today, we are going to measure the main ingredients that we use for my recipes. For the measurements, we are going to measure 1 teaspoon, 1 tablespoon, and 1 scoop. For those that do not know yet, 1 tablespoon is equivalent to 3 teaspoons and 1 scoop is equivalent to 4 teaspoons. But how much do they actually weigh? Because you need to know the exact weight in grams so that you can calculate the cost. When you check on Google, what is the weight of 1 tablespoon, you will find that it says about 15 grams. This is not true for most of the ingredients. It really depends on the density of your ingredients. Different powder, different flavor has different weight. So we are going to measure exactly how much each of them weigh. Once you know the weight of your ingredients, you can calculate the cost. How do you calculate the cost? Let me give an example. For example, coffee beans. I'm going to use Philippine pesos as the basis for my costing. You can change it depending on the country that you are in. Let's say, for example, I use 1 scoop of coffee beans for 1 cup of hot coffee. Now, if the cost of my 1 kilogram of coffee is 500 pesos, then the cost per gram is 0.5 pesos. If 1 scoop is equal to 10 grams, well, it is not exactly 10 grams. We will find out later how much exactly is the weight of 1 scoop of coffee beans. But for the purpose of this discussion, moving on, 1 scoop, let's say, is 10 grams. At 0.5 per gram, the total cost of 1 scoop is 5 pesos, or the total cost of my 1 cup of hot coffee is 5 pesos. So that is the cost of your coffee beans alone. We are going to measure a few of our main ingredients. We're going to measure some coffee, tea, chocolate, matcha, most of the major ingredients that we use. We are going to measure some coffee, starting from beans, instant coffee, non-dairy creamer, sugar, flavored powder, and others. So stay tuned until the end of this video tutorial so you know exactly how much each of the ingredients weigh for your costing purposes. Let's get started. Starting with coffee beans. 1 scoop of coffee beans. Here is 8.5 grams. Next, let's measure fine instant coffee. For 1 teaspoon of instant coffee, the weight is 1.4 grams. 1 tablespoon of fine instant coffee is 4.7 grams. Next, coffee granules. Tare, and I'm going to measure 1 teaspoon of coffee granules, and the weight is 1.2 grams. For 1 tablespoon of coffee granules, the weight is 4.1 grams. Next, I'm going to measure loose leaf tea. This is my premium Taiwanese tea, and if you are measuring it in scoops, then I would start with scoops here. Weighs 3.7 grams. Let's check the weight in tablespoon. So 1 tablespoon of loose leaf tea is 2.8 grams. Now remember, it is not the same for all tea. It just depends on the density of your tea leaves. Next, let's look at Thai tea, which is more like finings. Normally, we measure this in tablespoon. I am going to measure 1 tablespoon of Thai tea, level tablespoon, and it is 5.6 grams. Now, sometimes I measure them in scoop, especially when I use the machine. 1 level scoop of Thai tea weighs 7.7 grams. Next, let's look at the weight of jasmine green tea. So for those that are using teaspoon for jasmine green tea, let's check how much is the weight. And it weighs 2.2 grams for 1 teaspoon. Let's check the weight in 1 tablespoon. 1 level tablespoon of jasmine green tea weighs 6.3 grams. Next, we are going to measure non-dairy creamer. This is very commonly used for milk tea, and so I'm going to use 2 different measurements. I'm going to check the measurement for 1 tablespoon and 1 level tablespoon of non-dairy creamer weighs 8.8 grams. Now, some milk tea shops, they measure their non-dairy creamer in scoops, so let's find out how much is the weight. 1 level scoop of non-dairy creamer is 12.2 grams. Next, I'm going to check the weight of powdered chocolate. So in most of my recipes, I use tablespoon for my chocolate powder. So I am going to use tablespoon. I'm going to level it. And the weight of 1 tablespoon is very little, 3.8 grams. Let's see what is the weight of my dark chocolate powder in scoop. So once again, I will just level it. And 1 scoop of dark chocolate powder is 5.9 grams. Not very heavy at all. Next, let's look at white sugar. For white sugar, I normally use sometimes 1 teaspoon. So let's find out how much is the weight of 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon of white sugar weighs 5.4 grams. Okay, let's put it back. Now let's check the weight in tablespoon. 1 tablespoon of white sugar weighs 15 grams. This is more close to the standard. Usually on Google, you will find that 1 tablespoon is equal to 15 grams. But as you can see, it is not the same for different types of ingredients. So that's 15 grams for sugar. So next, it is muscovado sugar. For this, 1 teaspoon of muscovado sugar weighs 2.4 grams. Now let's find out how much is the weight of muscovado sugar in tablespoon. 1 tablespoon of muscovado sugar weighs 9.7 grams, so it is lighter than white sugar. Next, let's look at our flavor. I have here taro flavor, and usually it is measured in tablespoon or scoop. So if I set this to 0 and I'm going to measure 1 tablespoon of my flavored taro, what is the weight? And it weighs 8.9 grams for 1 tablespoon. For those milk tea shops that use scoop to measure their flavored powder, let's find out how much 1 scoop weighs. So 1 scoop of flavored taro powder weighs about 12.5 grams. Next, I am going to measure my red velvet powder. For those that are using red velvet, I am going to again show you the measurements in tablespoon. 1 tablespoon of red velvet powder. Let me just level it. 1 tablespoon of red velvet powder weighs 8 grams. Now let's find out the measurement in 1 scoop. So for those that are using scoop, 1 scoop of red velvet powder weighs 11.7 grams. Next, for unsweetened matcha, 100% pure matcha, I usually use teaspoon to measure my matcha. So again, I am going to use a level teaspoon of matcha, and this is usually for 12 ounces cup. 1 teaspoon of matcha weighs a mere 1.3 grams. And finally, this is my matcha latte, which is measured in tablespoons. So 1 tablespoon of matcha latte weighs 8 grams. Okay, so those are the main ingredients that we use in my recipes on this channel. Well, there you go. Now you know how much each of your ingredients weigh in grams so that you can calculate the cost correctly. Good luck to all those that are in the business. For those that are about to start their business, do it now. There is still a good opportunity that exists even with all the economic difficulties that we are facing. Coffee and tea will always remain constantly in people's lives and lifestyle. So get started with your business. That's all I have today. If you would like me to cover anything in my future video tutorials, do let me know. Click that subscribe button for more of these video tutorials. In the meantime, stay safe, take care, stay tuned. Thank you for watching. Ciao for now.